everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Michael, I am the Red Light Historian, and today we're going to be talking about surfing, but with a bit of a twist. Let's make some history. So I used to love wakeboarding as a kid, and I always kind of wanted to give surfing a shot. Maybe now is the time. Let's see if we can find a board online. Alright, a little pricey. Huh? So I guess I'm gonna try to build one. And the first thing we need is wood. That was easy. So I've never built a surfboard before. I looked up a few tutorials and I can assure you I don't have any of the tools and none of the experience. Let's see what happens. And while that weirdo's trying to build a surfboard, let's learn something new about something old. When people think of surfing, usually they think of a warmer tropical location like Hawaii, Malibu, or even Queensland, Australia. But have you ever considered surfing in the Great Lakes? The North American Great Lakes are often considered America's third coast, as the shoreline stretches for roughly 10,500 miles. The lakes themselves contain about 21% of the Earth's fresh surface water by volume. Essentially, what this means is that these lakes are massive, and it's nearly impossible to stand on one shoreline and see the other side. With such large bodies of water, surely someone must have tried surfing them at some point. And people have. Many modern-day surfers speculate that originally it was the Native Americans who first tried to ride the waves. Others believe that surfing did not really show up until the mid to late 1940s. This was right after World War II, and many of those who fought in the Pacific began making their way back home, bringing with them some of the cultures they experienced while away in combat. This is where some people believe Great Lakes surfing has its roots. As vets returned from Hawaii after being stationed in Pearl Harbor, they came home back to the American Midwest, bringing their newfound love of surfing with them. Since they could no longer ride waves in the ocean, they had to take to the Great Lakes in order to get their fix. The idea of vets surfing in the Great Lakes isn't far-fetched either, as a news article published in 1945 by the Detroit Evening Times discussed surfboard riding. However, despite this theory, actual evidence of veterans surfing the Great Lakes is pretty scant. Instead, most people point to a man named David Doc Siebold as the first person to surf in the Great Lakes, which he claimed to have done in 1955. David Siebold, whose nickname is Doc, stated that his interest began in Daytona Beach, Florida while attending a swim meet. At the time, he was on the varsity swim team for Michigan State University, and while attending the meet, decided to go to the ocean where he learned to body surf. After college, Doc and his wife Dottie moved to Hawaii where he rented his first surfboard. This would be the single board he would rent, because after that, he began constructing his own boards from scratch. Doc got the idea to build his own surfboard from his friend who was in the Navy at the time. His friend had come up to him and asked him if he would be interested in building a surfboard along with him. The two decided to craft their boards out of balsa wood due to its abundance in Pearl Harbor after World War II. Doc then built his board and began surfing with it on the beaches of Waikiki. After spending some time in Hawaii, Doc was offered an internship in Michigan. Doc accepted the position and moved himself and his wife Dottie to Grand Haven, bringing with him his passion for surfing and his balsa wood board. Although Doc may have been the first person to surf in the Great Lakes, it appears that another man actually may have beaten him to the punch as one of the earliest and most influential adopters of surfing culture from the region. In 1928, a man named Tom Blake revolutionized surfboards and how they were crafted. Thomas was initially from Washburn, Wisconsin, but met a man named Duke Konohanamaku in Detroit, Michigan. The interesting part is that Doc also knew Duke, as they were both part of the 1912 Olympic swim team. Anyways, back to Tom. Tom followed Duke to California and eventually Hawaii. It was there that he learned how to carve surfboards. While visiting Honolulu's Bishop Museum, Tom noticed an early adaptation of surfboard design and decided to play around with it. At the time, boards were generally carved from a single piece of wood, making them dense and heavy. Tom began using different materials such as plywood to create a hollow board which was lighter and easier to maneuver. Although there were plenty of skeptics at the time over the new design, Duke enjoyed the new style of board and Tom eventually patented it in 1931. Despite these early adopters of the culture, it seems like surfing didn't really take off in the Great Lakes region until around the 1960s. It was then that people like Magia Schaus from Buffalo, New York began surfing the Great Lakes, as well as some of the different clubs that began popping up in the area, such as the Great Lakes Surfing Association, which was formed in 1966. In addition to the Great Lakes Surfing Association, 1 year prior, the Wildwood Surf Club was founded in Ontario, Canada. Moving forward in time,
During the 1980s, surfing in the Great Lakes was still a pretty small community. For example, a man named Eric Geitzen, who is a native of Shorewood, Wisconsin, believed that there may have been around 10 surfers in the Milwaukee area at this time. Despite this relatively small group of people hitting the waves, they still made a large splash in the overall surfing community, as Sheboygan, Wisconsin eventually became known as the Malibu of the Midwest. Today, surfing in the Great Lakes has grown in popularity, but is still a relatively small community as a whole. There are many reasons for this, but the largest being that the best time to go out is in the winter. The waves of the Great Lakes are strongly determined by the wind, which usually hits the region in the winter via the polar jet stream. This means that the lake water can range in temperatures of 30 degrees to negative 30 degrees. Surfers need special gear to survive the frigid temperatures of the lake. On top of this, fresh water is naturally less buoyant than salt water, requiring surfers to use bigger boards to help offset drag. The waves themselves also tend to be smaller than ocean waves and occur more frequently, creating choppier conditions for surfers to contend with. Put all these conditions together, and you can see why surfing the Great Lakes is not for the faint of heart. But the people that do it all claim they wouldn't have it any other way. And with the creation of my very own surfboard, I hope I can finally join their ranks.
I think it's pretty much done. I'm just gonna wait for it to dry, and then I guess we'll have to take it out. And this is Lake Huron.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. Down, 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 against them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching for it far. It takes a lot to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch up. Pokemon, gotta catch up, my heart's so true. Our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.
That didn't work at all. The waves had no buoyancy whatsoever. Well, I'm back. It's actually been a couple months since I filmed that video, if you couldn't tell by my hair length. It actually looks like this outside now. But anyways, getting back to the video, as you can see, it did not go particularly well. The board here, Old Faithful, just didn't really cut the snuff. Honestly, I'm just happy it survived. You can see on the back, it got a few dings on it. Over here, you can see it got a little dinged up. So it took a few bumps and bruises, but it held up pretty well. And I'm not gonna say this board is a complete dud either. I do think you could surf on this, but definitely not as is. We're gonna have to add probably a few more boards to this thing, reshape it, and then coat the entire thing in an epoxy resin, and then I think it might be good to go, but I don't think I'm gonna be the one to try it out. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I guess I better boogie on out of here.
Boo, you stink!
If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, remember to subscribe, and the rest was history.
Wait. Don't go anywhere. Because this video is so short, I just wanted to plug my blog real quick. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, a blog? But this is actually where I keep all of my citations for my videos. As you can see, I've cited every video that I have put out so far, with the exception of the history versus historiography, simply because I was so short, so I just tacked it on at the end in the video itself. So I'll be honest with you guys, not all of my citations are in proper Chicago style format. Some are also just the URL by itself. It honestly kind of depends on the amount of time that I've got to be able to put into it. I'm just a one-man team, so sometimes I just want to be able to put my citations up or my URLs up quickly so that way I can get the video out. But I do always want to make sure that if you guys ever want to know where I get my information from, or maybe if you guys want to use it in your own work, there's a spot that you can go to and find where I found my resources. And I do always link this in each video as well, with the exception being the history versus historiography video. So that's it. That's all I wanted to note. If you guys ever want to check it out, feel free to. If not, I completely understand, but it's there if you want it. All right, that's all I wanted to know. And now the rest was history.